And last but not least, let me talk about Shirley. Nah? Yes, let's all talk about a surprisingly anticipated film. You know what I mean? In with us folks in Trinidad and Tobago, man. Shirley, right? For those who don't know, this is a Netflix release biographical drama. Written and directed by John Ridley. I forgot that he actually helmed this film as well, right? You would know him as the writer for 12 Years a Slave. He actually won an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay for that as well. Um,
Right.
and it also stars Oscar winner Regina King, because if you remember, she actually
Yep.
won Best Supported Actor for Best Supported Actress, sorry, for If Beale Street Could Talk, which was a great film, from me boy Barry
Yeah.
Jenkins. I've rewatched that film since though. I remember Ricardo and I, we talked about it, we loved it, but I've been meaning to recap that though. But that movie was great and Regina King was fantastic at that, right? So she is playing the legendary Shirley Chisholm, right? Who I would
Yep.
confess I know little about. I just know her impact in terms of just African American history and whatnot. She's been referenced a few times in rap songs of the early 90s, you know what I mean? So I know how big of a deal she is, right? But as far as her role in history, in American history, especially with politics, I know nothing about it, right? So I went in expecting to know a lot more about her role in this, right? Because she is the first African American woman to go up for the presidential race, right? And to see how that
Correct.
plays out. In the early 70s, I must mention, right? But they're wondering, okay, America, chilicism, all right, politics. Okay, so why we Trinis talk about this show so much, boy? And the answer comes in the co-star of this film, the veteran actor himself, Michael Cherrie, right? I've been
Yep.
seeing this guy acting in
Yeah,
films.
Michael.
Yes, in years. Fun fact, I saw him in Men of Grey 2, Flight to the Ibis
Yep.
back in '96. Right? That's how long this guy has been in the game, right? So think about
Yeah.
that for a sec, right? And this is literally his first breakthrough performance, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not just an American film, you know what I mean, that's gonna get a lot of
He's the
eyeballs.
star of a local, also another local masterpiece, Sister God.
Oh yes, yes, yes. How can we forget Sister God? Also
Correct.
he was in
And he
Fortune for
was in
All.
Westwood Park. I mean, it's not
Yes.
film, but he was in Westwood Park as well. I was a
Right.
boy in Thailand.
Yeah, he was also Westwood Park, and Ricardo, we talked about him in Fortune for All. Remind me, Julien, did you review Fortune for All, or you haven't seen it as yet?
No, unfortunately, I was not fortunate enough to catch Fortune for All.
Okay, and I know it's going through the film festival route, but it hasn't come to, because I know you're part of a festival. I'm part of one as well too, but unfortunately, it hasn't been submitted, which sucks because I wanted to see it again. You know what I mean? But I guess in due time, I'll see it again, and hopefully you'll see it, for the first time, right? But So Michael Cherrie has been in the game for years now, and it's great though that he has made it to a Netflix feature as well, too, right? So a lot of people
Yeah.
worldwide are going to be seeing his talents as well, right? And this is a big deal for us in Trinidad, right? Through Facebook, we saw the red carpet premiere and all that kind of stuff and whatnot, and all of this is greater. But what I aim to do here with this show, with this review here, is not just zero in on the performance, but also the film surrounding it, right? And I'll leave it at that, right? So, Julian, you saw the film, right?
I did see the
Okay.
film.
All right.
Yeah.
You mind doing a synopsis, just a brief synopsis, if you don't mind?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's no problem.
Sure.
So well, as you mentioned, it deals with Shirley Chisholm, who was the first Black U.S. Congressperson, I guess you would say, and her election bid for the U.S. presidency in 1972. Yes, I don't think she was the
first black or first black woman.
I don't think she was the first woman, but I think might have been the first black woman. Yeah.
First black woman, right?
Yeah, I know she was the first black female U.S. Congresswoman, but I
Right,
don't think she was
black,
the first. Yeah, but I don't think she was the first woman to go up for the U.S. presidency.
Right.
So and as you said, Academy Award winner Regina King plays Shirley Chisholm, and there Michael Cherrie plays her husband, Conrad Chisholm.
Right.
And as well as Shirley, she was the child of immigrants, Guyanese and Barbadian, and she really,
Right.
yeah. So in the film, she talks with a kind of American Bajan accent, and she was very
Yeah.
proud of her Bajan ancestry. And her in real life, her husband was actually of Jamaican heritage. I guess
Right.
we'll talk a bit about the accent.
That explains the accent. That explains the accent.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll have to get into the accent a
Hmm.
bit.
Hmm.
Right.
So those, yeah, and we there's some also some, we have the great Lance Reddick, late
Yeah.
great Lance Reddick is
Great.
in it as
Yeah.
well too,
Yeah, one
as
of
one
his
of her
last performances, by the
advisors.
way. Yeah. And R.I.P. Early R.I.P. Man. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a decent cast. We have
Oh, yeah. We should mention Terrence
Howard.
Howard. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Terrence
Man.
Howard is in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
Terrence Howard is in it as well too. So it's a decent cast. And what so yeah, so it follows her bid and dealing with the whole, well, both the gender politics, the racial politics, Black Panthers. There's an assassination attempt on her life, her struggles through it. And I mean, as everyone know, America has never had a black female president. So
No.
people, you kind of go into the film knowing, well, okay, she's not going to win, but they kind of follow the journey of you know her struggles and what it meant for people, and what she accomplished. So yeah, that's the film in a nutshell.
Yeah. Would you mind just sharing your thoughts on the film? And you could just jump in. Well, you could just give your score.
Sure. I mean, I enjoyed it. What I've found about it, it's a very energetic film, as I said in my review. So it keeps the pace moving. It's a very bright film. It's very brightly colored. There's a lot of very snappy dialogue, and well, Shirley Chisholm, the character, she's she drops a lot of one-liners and kind of folksy wisdom and stuff. So it makes this whole you know e- election process interesting. At no point I felt, well, okay, I'm zoning off, I'm bored, because there's always something new, something interesting happening. It's a fun film. I think Regina King is fantastic in it. I think she really embodies the character, and I do think there will be some kind of award buzz for her. I think it's a really good showcase for Michael Cherrie. Because in the film he plays, well, he uses a line where he tells Shirley, he says, you wanted a shadow of a man. So he's kind of like, well, okay, she's the big, political star, and he's just there to support her. But you kind of see that weighing on him. So he does get to go a lot of emotional places, and he's not the star of the film, but I do think he gets enough to show his range as
Yeah.
an actor. Yeah, and I do think people, the Hollywood powers that be, watching this will be like, okay, this guy, we could pull him in for some more projects. On the accent, when I was watching the film and I didn't know the ancestry of the gentleman, the real life gentleman, I was like, okay, is this man a Trini? Because he sounded
Right.
kind of Trini. But then when I look it up, I was like, oh, he's Jamaican. I was like,
Which
oh,
which, which I thought was
yeah.
interesting because I sure they could have easily gotten Jamaican actor like over a Trini actor. So it's interesting how he got the role now.
Yeah, and I guess, and it didn't seem too concerned, because I mean, in the film they don't mention that he's Jamaican,
Right.
so I guess it's like, well, okay, the mostly
Yeah.
American audience will just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's a Caribbean accent,
Right.
whatever, they really would.
I suppose it's just
Yeah,
the look of it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's where I
He's
would
look he
think as
kind of
well.
rounded and so on. So it's like he
Well,
looked like the guy. So yeah.
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
a bit of a ringer for the guy, but
Right.
overall, I thought it was I mean, is it not the best biographical drama I've ever seen, and it's not something outstanding. It's like, hey, a must watch, but it's a very entertaining film. It's very interesting, and it's nice, as Matthew was mentioning, he didn't know about the history of her. I knew nothing about her either. So I always enjoy films that bring up these kind of little known historical tidbits. So I enjoyed watching it, and I would recommend it to other people. So if I were to give it a score, I think it's pretty good. I would give it a 4 out of 5, or 5 out of 10.
Tracy, your thoughts on the film, followed by Riton.
Well, first of all, let me just say, like you, Sir Bailey, I came to Philly Chisholm through rap, because like I had like so much other random stuff that was, like that's the US and everything that's going on there. But I do remember specifically this one line in the Outcast track where it was like, "Tuck the rhythm under your bosom, you're the prism, Shirley Chisholm," and I had no idea who the heck Shirley Chisholm was. So you get little tidbits and stuff from like doing some research and figuring out who she is. But this film, it felt kind of like a documentary. Like I mean, I know it's a biographical narrative film inspired by her life and inspired by the idea of her growing up, but it felt like a documentary, and I like that. I actually quite like that. I think this is something that if you don't know anything about Miss Chisholm and what she actually meant for the U.S. and by extension, like women and black people on the whole over there, it is something that you would sit down and you can watch and actually be able to learn. And I feel like that is cool. Maybe it was a. Oh, I would have still loved to have seen it on a very large screen. I mean, no shot at Netflix. Netflix is brilliant for doing things like that. But I keep wondering if maybe it could have been on a bigger screen. I will say, however, I was telling Sir Bailey, like I thoroughly enjoyed Shirley, but I've been secretly dubbing it Michael because he has done voice work for some of my ads. He has, he's like the face, like I said, in terms of Westwood Park and all this kind of thing. So I just kept sitting on there watching this movie, and every time he's on screen, I was like, oh my god, this is so. Like I had that entire moment of seeing him, and I felt that he portrayed. I mean, like I don't really know the guy or anything of the sort, obviously, but from what little pieces of information that you were able to glean, you kind of portrayed it like really emotionally. There's two scenes in there without spoiling much, like when she comes home from being out on the road, and
Like,
there's
he don't
no
cook for
hot
she.
food.
Yeah, he don't cook
Yeah,
for she.
like there's no hot food, and there's a moment there between the two of them, and he says like a God road, and I like that interaction between the two of them. I like how that felt. Um, I mean, surprising, no one who she ended up remarrying. Like for me, that was really, yeah, because they kind of was
I
hinting
I,
that
I kind of laugh at
like
that
something
though,
was
like
happening.
Well, right. So
wow, okay.
if I remember correctly, yeah, they did get divorced after, I think.
Yeah, like in 19, so later on, 77 or something like that.
77, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, okay, cool. But I ap- I applaud Lady King for literally embodying the role of this great lady. And I think she also produced it as well. I think Regina King produced this film as well. So even though she's not directing it, she's starring and producing it, and so that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, this film is a cool 4 out of 5. I feel like I would put this. This is going to sound a little weird, but in terms of things that I would rewatch around like Black American culture, I would put The Greatest Night in Pop and this right next to each other in terms of. I think I'm going to sit down and watch a cool double feature on the history of something in the U.S. And so that was pretty cool for me. Maximum vibes to Michael Cherrie. I really do hope that it becomes a little bit more of like he gets more of a little bit more of a launch pad into doing more things and like different rules and all that kind of good stuff. So I like high five to that entire team and high five to the casting director who looked and said this guy can actually pull it off quite well, the role. But yeah, I had fun. So that's me.
All right, Ricardo, your thoughts on the film and rating.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. All things considered, it's not as good as something like Coleman Domingo's vehicle. What do you call him?
Rustin.
Rustin, right? Thank you. Yeah, it's not Rustin. Not Rustin quality, but it's up there, and it's pretty good. It's she really embodies the role. She really, if you know the real Shirley Trissom, it really nails it. I am reasonably familiar with her because of a couple of documentaries. I remember seeing her when I was young, and just knowing her as a historical figure during a really really kind of tumultuous period for the Democratic Party, and how the primary and that whole challenge in the party from internally because the party not really that good for who they claim to be good for, and so on and so forth. That politics. And yeah, she was like the perfect person for that. Like, she was just the right figure and a great historical figure in that sense. And what was cool about her too is that she has a lot of great lines, a lot of great one-liners. That she, probably my favorite of hers is that, if you don't have a seat to the table, bring your folding chair, right? Stuff like that. She's great at it. I am obviously biased towards this because Michael Cherrie in it, and I thought he was pretty good. He held his own against Regina King. He held his own against other people. He wasn't like, you're worried that you got to embarrass yourself and be the weak link and the kind of thing. As your normal Trinity thing, right? But I thought he's pretty good. He really really nails the role. It really works. They bounce off each other quite well, and then they just make it her story in terms of just the rise and fall of her campaign and why it worked, why it could have worked, and so on. For normal election stuff where it's mostly money quarterbacking because it's very arbitrary and arbitrary things can come and mess up your campaign. How much money is involved? The process is quite challenging and corrupt. And she was like a really interesting historical figure to see the inside baseball of that whole thing. And the movie nails it. It is a Netflix thing. Like it clearly, I felt if anything, it could have stepped things up or come up or beating, but it's it's how much money I want to put into it, as they say, right? Because I would argue movies have the same dynamic as election campaigns, right? And I just thought this came together really well. Written, I gave it like a 7 out of 10. It could have been better. It's not rusted. It's not that level of quality, I think, but it's still reasonably well done, all things considered. And Regina King just puts together a really nice vehicle for us. And I enjoyed it for what it was. Written 7 out of 10. I thought it was good.
Right. So I haven't seen. I still haven't seen Rustin though, unfortunately, which sucks because I heard how great it was, especially with Colman Domingo's performance, right? And I can't say that this show is Oscar worthy in my opinion. I guess it's because of when it was released. But it's up there though in terms of just stellar acting and writing and all that kind of stuff, right? Get this out of the way. Yes, Regina King shines as Shirley Chisholm. She literally holds this film on her shoulders. I love the bravery of the character. That's how boisterous she is, how determined she is. I like that it's both a strength and a weakness. I love how it's played like that. There's a great moment where she actually mentions, I'm kind of, well, not just paraphrasing, kind of stubborn. Like, this is kind of who I am, but I know this is a problem and I know this is why some people don't want to work with me and so on and so forth. So, you know what I mean? But, she is determined to make, serious change in America. I love that, right? And just the story itself is really fascinating. I'll get to an issue I had with the story, but it's just a nitpick for me, right? I was surprised though, like literally, you could almost kind of argue he gets the first, like he gets, not top billing, but he shows up in the beginning of the film. Michael Cherrie was literally in frame 1 of the show. And we're like, what? You know what I mean? Like he steps into the camera, he steps into the frame first, and then Regina's right afterwards. So that blew me away though, you know what I mean? But yes, Michael Cherrie is great as Conrad though. Sure, there isn't much of him, but it's not so much as the point, but when he is there, he makes it his own. I like that he is always supportive of Shirley. There's a great moment where he kind of questions her determination and why she does what she does. And in that scene alone, you see why, well, ultimately in real life, why they parted ways, right? But when they are together, especially in this film, yes, you really do feel that bond. You really do feel that yes, he wants to be a part of her life and also the campaign that she's a part of, right? And I do hope that people will tune in to see this performance, and I guess for potential actors, especially coming from not just Trinidad and Tobago but the Caribbean, see this and be inspired. Like yes, I could be in a film like this and I could star alongside great heavyweights like Regina King and the late great Lance Reddick and Terrence Howard and stuff like that. Speaking of which, the supporting cast is great as well. It was really cool seeing Lance Reddick again, because the funny thing is that there's a lot of, like, I think this and a couple other films. There's, well, of course, there's John Wick Chapter 4, right? But there's another film that came out, I just can't remember the name of it right now, which always kind of touts that, oh, this is the final appearance of Lance Reddick, right? But it feels like, this is just one of like a few that we have seen, and you probably might have one more that's literally the last one, right? But whatever. The point is, it was great seeing him just on screen for another time. I don't want to say one more time, it was cool seeing Terrence Howard as well too, and just knowing the outcome with him kind of make me laugh a little bit because yes, like looking back at it, the show did kind of set up something between him and Shirley, right? That was interesting. But just to get, I should mention too the direction. I thought it was pretty strong as well. Very vibrant, you know what I mean? Very bright, you know what I mean? In terms of just the lighting and all that kind of stuff, right? Really do love the use of archival footage as well. Although, just to get the nitpicks though, there is a couple of instances where you will see a clip with the real person, and then it goes to the actor playing the person. That was kind of weird. It kind of
Right.
felt a little disjointed at times. It was like, all right, like I understand you're working with a budget. Yes, I know it's Netflix, but you're kind of working with a budget. So I thought that they would at least recreate those scenes. And I mean, because they was doing a real good job using these, like, 70s VHS filters and all that kind of stuff. Like, it was doing that
Right.
real cool. But I thought, like, for those moments, yeah, you could have add those. And for other moments involving real life people, you just show those clips and just leave it at that. But I didn't think that they would actually cut from the real person to the actor. That was kind of weird, right? And as intriguing and as engaging as the story was, what I feel for me kind of holds the show back is, I guess it's just for me personally, I am not too big into American politics, especially when it comes to like the presidential race and all these things about votes and delegates and all that kind of stuff. I guess that you have to really be into those things, especially political history as a whole, to really be locked in and really be invested in it, right? So I felt like while the characterization was strong, I felt there could have been a bigger emotional weight to what's going on. And it's set up very well with Shirley, being an African American woman, going up against going for president and running, going in the presidential race, right? And then you have all these people like, why are you doing this for and all that kind of stuff. That's cool, but there could have been a little bit more emotion going on behind the scenes. So like when certain revelations take place, or when certain things happen in the story, you really feel it, right? Even if you're not too familiar with the history surrounding it and all the political stuff, right? So I just felt like that's where the show kind of falls back, unfortunately, right? But yeah, for what it is, it's a solid film. It didn't blow me away. I didn't come out of it like, wow, this is one of the best shows I've ever seen, right? But for what it is, though, it is a very entertaining film. It is a very endearing film, though. It's one that you will walk out, learning about some things and feeling inspired as well, too. And then, of course, just knowing the struggle and, yeah, just the journey that Shirley went through. And you could see why she is so influential as far as African-American just African Americans, period. I was going to say politicians, but just African Americans, period, right? Yeah, you really do see that in it as well too, and that's really thanks in part to there's a great performance by the great Regina King, right? So rating wise, I'm gonna give this a strong 3.5 to a light 4, man. It is worth checking out on Netflix. I mean, yeah, even if you're not really invested in that whole political stuff, yeah, still see it, right? And it's not just about Michael Cherrie, even though, yes, he shines in it as well. And I really want to see him, star in bigger films, in the future. And, just really, I just really want to see his filmography grow from this point on. I'm really excited for that, right? But, yeah, I mean, everybody, do their thing, direction is well, writing is well done, acting is strong as well, too. And yeah, I mean, even if you're not invest in all the political stuff, you will be entertained. You will find enjoyment in this film, man. Once again, it's on Netflix, so yeah, definitely check it out, man.